Last week, Google had one of the biggest search algorithms leak in history. So in today's video, I'll be going over exactly what was in that leak and key information that you need to keep in mind if you're an online publisher or you make money from your websites. So let's go ahead and get started. So I found a really good article that summarized everything within that leak. It's from sheknowsseo.co, a really good site for SEO news and tips. So in the algorithm leak, it gave information on things that Google thinks is important or the way in which Google ranks websites. So as you can see here are some of the interesting ranking factor finds. Number one is that there's an attribute that specifically marks personal sites or blogs. It's unclear what that attribute is for. So essentially, if you have a personal site, you have a blog around, whatever topic it may be, or a niche site, then there's an attribute that Google knows that is actually a small personal site. Now we can kind of guess why Google is doing this. It could be because they want to make sure that the content is not just being used in order to monetize it, such as a niche site where you're just wanting to create a bunch of content on that site and then monetize it using ads. Number two is Google has a site authority score. So similar to Ahrefs or SEMrush, Google actually has their own site authority score. So of course, we don't know exactly how Google is coming up with this metric, but it is important to note that every single website, or at least the bigger websites, will have a site authority score based upon Google's ranking factors, and that is probably how they decide what to show and what not to show on the first page of Google. NavBoost is almost entirely made up of click data. If you don't know what NavBoost is, it's a Google ranking factor that was uncovered during a trial on Google, and essentially it again tells Google what to rank on Google. So essentially it's made up of click data such as the longest click from the SERP, so the search result that the person spent the longest time on. So let's say that we're on a SERP overview for a specific keyword. Google will then keep in mind which users are staying the longest on specific sites, and if they're staying longest on that site, that is going to be a positive ranking factor, and it may outrank that specific website compared to other websites on the first page. And last good click, the last time someone went to your site and stuck around, it tracks clicks over 13 months. So essentially, NavBoost is just about click data. So if you're getting a lot of clicks, if people are staying on your websites, if they're reading your content, if they're spending a lot of time on your sites, then that is a really good factor. And that is a really positive factor to have good user experience, which will allow your websites to rank higher. There's a concept that's called Twiddlers, and these are re-ranking algorithms that run between major updates and shift rankings in the SERPs. So when there's a big update from Google, then these Twiddlers will go out and re-rank some specific websites. And we get some information here about backlinks. So Google is saying that overly optimized anchor text, especially when used constantly for links to your site from third parties, seem to trigger a spam demotion for those links. So essentially, if you're buying backlinks and Google can see that it's overly optimized, it's pretty easy for them to tell, then that will be determined as spam, and you wouldn't really be able to get the link juice from that specific website as if you were to naturally get a backlink. Poor navigation and exact match domains can lower your ranking. So this used to work before when we have exact match domains. Now that doesn't work as much. It can actually lower your rankings, especially if you're manipulating the search results. And you need to make sure that your website is easy to navigate. Google stores at least 20 versions of your web pages. So to have a clean state, you need to probably update it more than 20 times. So let's say, for example, right now your website has some of these issues with spam links. It doesn't have or it doesn't have good navigation, and it may have low quality content. You need to update it at least 20 times in order to make sure that your website is up to date on Google, because you may make some changes on your website, but that doesn't mean that necessarily Google is going to see those changes. Font size for links and weight for text or attributes, Google tracks. So essentially having larger links seems to be more positive, and Google seems to read bolded text differently than normal text. And it's also better for accessibility. Google also has a keyword stuffing score. So that means you can't necessarily go out and just stuff a blog post with specific keywords and expect that blog post to rank. That doesn't work anymore. And Google also tracks expired domain abuse. So it knows when domains expire, and it can tell if you're manipulating the search results by buying an expired domain and pointing it to your web pages. YMYL, which is your money, your life content, which is essentially content around making money online, or even health content, has its own ranking score. There is a gold standard attribute that seems to demark human generated content, but it's unclear how it's triggered. So essentially, they do have some ranking factors that say that this content is human generated, but it's unclear how that is triggered. AI overviews are never mentioned in the document. There is no clear mentions of internal links as an attribute. That doesn't mean that internal links isn't important. I think it is very, very important, because if you go back to the first point, which is click data, people usually stay longer on websites if they actually can click through and go to other web pages that are relevant. And there's 3 topics that are whitelist, aka they need to be approved to be shared, and those are topics around COVID, politics, and travel. So COVID and politics makes sense. Travel, I think they're probably talking about bans for specific countries or travel restrictions. I don't think they're talking about overall travel niche, because I see a lot of websites doing well around traveling. So what does the Google API information mean for bloggers? So first, you need to create for users, not for Google. And this is something that I've been preaching on this channel. You need to create your website as it's a real business. You need to create your website for specific users. You need to humanize your website. You need to have people on your website. You need to have links to social media on your website. You can't just create a website, create content, expect it to start ranking. User experience is king. I highly agree with this statement. Content is not king anymore. User experience is king. So you need to write for humans. You need to make sure that your website has a good user experience, that they can navigate easily on your website, that they can find the information that they're looking for. And that will actually allow your website to do much better, especially long term, compared to just writing a bunch of content on your sites and posting it onto your website. Get the right type of links. I also really, really agree with this. You need to find high quality backlinks, not just buying those low spam quality backlinks and doing guest posts on those low quality spam. So I recommend that you read this document for yourself and you actually do some more research on the search algorithm leak, because you can find a lot of information about what Google determines what a good website is and what a bad website is. And if you are focused on monetizing your website, if you're trying to grow your business through your website or an online publisher, then this can be really, really useful information that will allow you to rank your websites and build your websites in the right way according to Google. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video, and I hope that you learned something new. If you did, let it be known by giving us a big thumbs up, and let me know what you think about the Google search algorithm leak in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.